You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Imaging Services, Zingit Solutions, Universal Tractioning Systems, Peter Goldman's Zone School of Healing, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Chiro Thin, Everest Coaching Systems, Chiro Moguls, Rhino Coaching, Chiro Matchmakers, Chiropractic Jobs Online, and Bax Max. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 84. No, it's not episode 84.
94.
It's episode 94 of Chiro Hustle. I'm your co-host Luke Millette. Here's your host, Jim.
So today we had the honor of interviewing Dr. Jay Komarek. If you want to know about somebody that's really positioned themselves as the go-to in animal chiropractic, stay tuned for his pearls of wisdom. So, Dr. J, tell us about your chiropractic story and what influenced you to become a chiropractor.
Well, the influences were family, and the influences were people who were really passionate about what they were doing. And as a kid, I didn't necessarily understand what they were doing, but I knew that the conversations around their work, in particular my dad and his brother, were very exciting and stimulating, and I would sit at the table while the two of them, plus my mother, who was very oriented toward natural health, would have conversations about wellness and chiropractic and energy. And so I would say it was family, and but specifically it was people who were very stimulated about something. And then later on, I came to understand at a pretty young age what chiropractic was about, and then obviously that's grown over the years. But at a young age, I saw an animal get adjusted, and I heard the message of chiropractic.
Yeah, that's amazing. I've come to learn more about you over the past couple of years, and one of the first introductions I had to you is you were, which I'm not going to ask you the question, I'm just going to tell people that which makes you unique is your experience of not only from your family stance that you just mentioned, but from your experience of working with animals. And I think that that's something that's really amazing that we can talk about is your relationship with animals and chiropractic.
Right. As I look at my career and I think about where did I learn stuff, I learned stuff in seminars. I learned from people who had been doing quite as pure as doing something to an animal who cannot speak, and then watching the response for better or for worse. And it was shortly into my chiropractic career. I was 24, 25, I guess. And, I started adjusting horses, and I started to see these immediate changes. Not like, it's just like when you go to a light switch and you turn the light on, you see an immediate change. Well, if you're attuned to the physiology of a horse and behavior, you see these behavioral changes and gait changes. And it was like the perfect laboratory for me early in my career, where I was very clinically oriented. So I wanted to know, does this stuff work or doesn't it? And animals were great because there's no placebo. They don't understand the word subluxation. I'm not holding a conversation with them. I do my analysis. I find a subluxation. I make a correction, and I'm then looking for the assessment of did something change in a positive direction?
Yeah, there's no salesmanship to the horse, right?
No. Yeah. And the funny thing is, if you go in there with any shtick, which I hate saying, but you've been around the block long enough to watch in chiropractic, with no disrespect, it's just where they are in their process. There's a lot of shtick, and with a horse, you better go in clear. Meaning your intent better be very, very clear about service and wanting to help. And if you're trying to do anything other than that, the horse can sniff you out. They can tell. And you'll have a very, very difficult time adjusting a horse. So it keeps you honest. A horse will keep you very, very honest.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you a little deeper question on animal adjusting and being a part of that community, and I know that you probably build relationships with the people that allow you to come in and take care of their animals. And what is kind of the characteristic that you've seen that ties and the silver lining that goes through the people that have these animals that get chiropractic care for them?
Right. That was a wonderful question. And, the answer to that is a deep caring and a deep love that they have for the animal. And, the bulk of what I take care of are performance horses and that are in all types of occupations: reining, cutting, dressage, hunters, jumpers, barrel racers. So they're certainly interested in high level of performance. But way before that, is this deep, deep connection that they have with their horse and the love that they have for their horse and wanting to. And, it's like you watch that with people with dogs or their cats or birds, and they have this deep connection, and it's pure because it's just a pure, authentic relationship. And so they have this deep caring and love for the animal. I would say that's the number one characteristic.
So just out of curiosity, what kind of other animals do you know how to adjust?
Well, I've worked in several animal hospitals, so there you see a little bit of everything. I've worked in the animal hospital with the veterinarian had her specialty birds. So early in my career, I wound up adjusting a lot of birds. And then, I had rabbits and gerbils, every kind of small little critter. And then on the other end, I have large animal vets who had steers and cattle and sheep and llama. And, I would say the strangest thing would be the elk. We had up until they had wasting disease and that went through the herds. They would have elk that were brood mares that would in the process of a male mounting a broodmare would really do quite a bit of jostling and damage, and so I wound up doing elk for a couple big ranches. But to watch a cow get adjusted, or sheep, it's pretty amazing.
So do you have any favorite motivational quotes or mantras that keep you fired up day after day?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. I have a good friend of mine who, we always, he's a chiropractor, he's a Frenchman, so that's all I'll say, but we always end our conversations, the best is yet to come. That as you continue to grow in chiropractic, and if you continue to study, and you continue to collaborate, and you continue to work toward truth and honesty, you just keep evolving yourself, and it never ends. I hope it never ends for people, that where you get to a place where you think you've got it all figured out. I do not have it figured out in horses, and I've done tens of thousands of horses. I still don't have it figured out. My son in Napa, California, showed me a move the other day that I would never consider in a million years, and he showed me something that was so graceful and so beautiful and so clearing of something very difficult. The pelvis on a horse is sizable. And my son said, "Hey, have you ever done this?" And he showed me this particular little simple thing. I was like, holy crap. It was so, so great. So, that you continue to learn and grow. I keep moving confidently to the best of my ability in the direction of what I want, which is to expand chiropractic through animal care. And I love taking care of the animals. I love the relationships I have with people. But ultimately, my goal was that we were not moving the needle in chiropractic over the last 40, 50 years. And all of the hype and the seminars and nothing was changing. In fact, people, we were becoming irrelevant. And I saw that, and I heard that, and I felt that nothing we were doing was changing people's minds. However, when I saw a veterinarian watch a horse get adjusted, and I've had literally 50, 60, 70 veterinarians come watch, or a person would watch a horse, it would just change their perception about chiropractic. And not only would they get their animal adjusted, like immediately right out of the gates, but they would, and continue to, but they would get themselves cleared out. And so it wasn't so much what I was saying, although I dialogued with them a little bit. It was something that they witnessed that was beyond, I could try and witness something in their horse that was quite magical, I'm not using too strong a word there. It's pretty impressive to watch a horse that's really rank or really nasty or really fractious, and all of a sudden they go from that to tranquil. And so, you perceive chiropractic in our world, if you're a mechanist, you think of back pain and shoulder pain and neck pain and pain. But the bigger vision, the wonderful aspect of chiropractic that people kind of get after they come into the office is that they have this experience of ease and well-being and a sense of themselves. And they realize, I didn't realize that this is what chiropractic is about. And we don't talk about it, because we don't, it's, if there's, it's not, quote, scientific or, unquote, it's, something that's a little mystical, and so we don't have a lot of languaging around that, although we should, because our very premise was about hooking people up to this fundamental energy that's inherent within them.
Yeah, and Jay, after you shared all that with me, it really stirred up some feelings for me. And chiropractic adjustments are a more grounding experience to a human's energy rather than I'm going to get you through something or out of something. It brings you back to wholeness again. And like you said, it clears people out. And if you can see that on a physiological level from an animal or a horse, it really chills out a human too.
Right, it really does. And which brings us to this kind of critical point, or this apex, which is on one side of the coin you have wellness and well-being and wholeness and this vitalistic process in life, and on the other side, chiropractic was built in its early 30, 40, 50 years on people who were sick, so that people went to chiropractors not just because they had a back pain or a neck pain, but they went with all types of conditions where chiropractic, the traditional subluxation based, I hate to use the word traditional, but we need to make distinctions between, just the fundamental premise of chiropractic and someone delivering that, and how many people were restored to health who were in crisis. So I don't like to throw the baby out with the bathwater, that we have this incredible premise that leads people to wellness and well-being and this expression of amazing life force. And on the flip side, we have people who are really, really sick. I just wrote a little note last week. I had a wolf. I found a picture of a wolf that I took care of. I guess that's a pretty, we didn't talk about wolves, but I had taken care of quite a few wolves over the years. And, wolf was no bladder control. No bowel control, and ataxic, meaning its back legs were non-functional. And the woman, who was very, very bright woman working for a big company back east, had decided to. The vets told her put the wolf down, and she just couldn't, because the love, which we talked about earlier, was so great, so powerful. She was trying to seek anything out. She came to our office. Somebody had referred her. Long story short, the wolf lived to be 7 to 17. It was 14 at the time, so it lived 3 more years, regained all of its function. Now, did it have a sense of well-being? I have no clue, but I do know that its ability to go and urinate with control and control its bladder and be able to walk out and do those things was functional. And so there's that side of chiropractic too, which I've been really involved with, especially in animal hospitals, where, you're talking about a cat or a dog that's lost its kidney function or its bowel function, and chiropractic shines there. And we, as a profession, in many, many places, we are afraid to address, because we want to address the subluxation. That's our focus. but we shouldn't shy away from taking care of sick people and people who are really ill. And that again, you're clear about what you're doing. I'm going to locate a subluxation. I'm not making any claims about taking care of bronchitis or kidney disease or bowel functus, constipation. We don't make any claims, but it makes so much sense that the central nervous system is cleared out in order for that person to maximize its health potential and recover. So that's two sides of the coin, the wellness side and the fact that the chiropractic was built on people getting well because they were in crisis.
Boy, I think anybody listening to this episode today, Dr. J, is going to have so many takeaways, especially from a young practitioner standpoint. Anybody that is coming into the chiropractic world, these understandings of these fundamentals are so valuable. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, you betcha. Yeah, you bet.
Another thing that makes you unique is the same thing that makes us unique. In the case that you've made a documentary about adjusting horses, right?
Well, I didn't make it. I adjusted somebody. I adjusted somebody who, after receiving an adjustment, had decided, it's an interesting story, so it's probably worth spending a minute or two, that I was teaching an adjusting program in Oakland, California. And the woman who hosted me was a chiropractor, Dr. Casey Flegel, and she said, would you mind checking my husband, Sean Nipper? And this was at the lunch hour. And so anyway, I said, be happy to. So all the students went elsewhere for lunch. I stayed behind and I adjusted this gentleman. And he had a major, which happens if you've been around network or BGI or HIO, people will have a major breakthrough, meaning they'll lay on the table and they'll start breathing or laughing or crying, or they'll run into the bathroom and get diarrhea. And it's the release of what they've been holding. And he had one of those adjustments. And there's a way to, after you've been doing it for a while, there's a way to make that happen. And if you're short on time, I was going to be there a weekend. I had opportunity to adjust him once or twice, so I'm gonna give him the big show. So anyway, that's what happened. He had an amazing shift, and I went back 6 months later after leaving, and he called me. He said, "Can I take you to dinner?" And went to have dinner with him and his wife, and he said, "We would like to do a documentary." And I said, "What on?" He said, "Well, I did some research on you. I understand you do horses." And he then told me what had happened to him on the previous visit when I adjusted him. And so that's where the story began. And this guy followed me around for 5 years, and which is a long time. I mean, you got to film. Well, you guys do it, so it's like you've got sound and you've got film and you've got So I'd be in Florida, there he'd be with 2 camera people, and I'd be in California, there he'd be here in California, and the cost and expense of all of that. And somewhere around the 4th year, I said, "How long does it take to make a film?" And he said, "Well, we're waiting for that one special horse." Now, we had special horses with all kinds of calamities and crisis. And sure enough, the horse that's in the documentary, the kind of the focal point, is a horse named Dizzy. It's a mare that's up in Ashland, Oregon, who had been beaten with a baseball bat. And the person is in jail who did that, and had killed 2 other horses with a baseball bat in a marriage dispute. And so nobody could get near the horse, and that was my call to go up there and go do that.
Wow.
And so that was the focal point of the film. And over the course of 5 years, Sean got to know me and my own personal life and things that nobody knew about my life other than my family, my immediate family. And so he uncovered 2 stories. Tells the story of chiropractic and this horse, Dizzy, and several other horses. And then at the same time, he unraveled some knots that were in me that came out as a result of taking care of Dizzy. So it was and he went on to get 3 first place awards at film festivals throughout the country. And he did a really wonderful job with the film. So
that's awesome. Yeah, so the movie's Life Adjusted, if anyone out there wants to get a copy of it and check it out.
Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime now. So if you have Amazon Prime, you get it for free.
Yeah, and I had the opportunity of seeing one of your premieres of it up in Boulder, and what an experience just seeing that firsthand and hearing from Sean and hearing from you. Like, great event.
Yeah, it's been wonderful. It's we get calls literally from all over the world where somebody's seen the movie, and then it's on. For me to have to go to South America, or I just can't do it, or to Europe, But people are seeking out, how do I get an animal chiropractor? So we have quite a network of people now, and it's growing so rapidly that people. At this last program, I think we had 27 people there who were interested in getting their certifications, veterinarians and chiropractors, and those are going to be 27 people who are going to go out and have an outreach through their own clients, and again, it expands chiropractic and furthers people's understanding in a totally different way. And as I said earlier, that's what's meaningful to me. That's the big purpose, besides the joy of taking care of animals who are hurt, or is just this bigger vision of I felt like we needed a different way to get the message out.
And then on top of that, your daughter also made a documentary called Love Bomb, right?
Yes, my daughter-in-law. Yeah.
Daughter-in-law.
Yeah, daughter-in-law, Dr. Rhea Zimmerman, and did a beautiful job. Again, one of the places where chiropractic shines is on the mission trips. And there's a lot of controversy around the mission trips. It's like, and I'm all pro mission trip. I think there's a certain person who needs to go, who's got a certain skill set, and it's the person organizing those trips needs to scrutinize who's going. But for the bulk of the people going, they're already, through their education, they've already had some adjusting experience, and then they get to go do something where usually there's a language barrier. So kind of like with the horse, they don't speak the language, they're delivering an adjustment, and they get to watch this very pure experience. So they were in, I think they were in Peru, right, in the movie, and went and took care of a community, and had a very amazing experience.
So how do you think the world would change if everyone got their pets adjusted?
Well, one first, it would springboard into all people getting adjusted. I think you'd have happy pets. I think the second thing is that we'd have a happy world. There's a wonderful saying that goes that we produce an environment consistent with the state of our nervous system. Meaning if you're jacked and you're subluxated and your sympathetic system is revving its engine, and you've been doing that from the cradle throughout your life, you are producing not only the chemistry and the metabolics consistent with that whacked out nervous system, but you're creating an environment and behavior consistent with it. So when people get adjusted and they start behaviorally changing, they change their job, their relationships becomes kind, all of a sudden they understand what the word compassion means and gentleness. They just couldn't feel it before because they were subluxated. In addition to the fact that their headache went away, yippee. That their symptoms went away, it's awesome. But the fact that their life changes and their life becomes adjusted, and they then all of a sudden have an experience of what it means to have an authentic, real, true life, that there's no bullshit, there's just you wanting to express yourself in the way God intended. And that is a very, very amazing thing.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Imaging Services, Zing Solutions, Universal Tractioning Systems, Peter Goldman's Zone School of Healing, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Chiro Thin, Everest Coaching Systems, Chiro Moguls, Rhino Coaching, Chiro Matchmakers, Chiropractic Jobs Online, and Bax Max. Let's hustle.
Yeah, and I think honestly that's been one of the real driving forces for Luke and myself to share the chiropractic message with so many people is advocacy is so necessary. And it's one thing hearing it from the chiropractor, like what we do with our interviews, but it's another thing is when people that are third party and giving that cultural authority to it and sharing the truth behind it. I think that there's a huge, focus point between showing that chiropractic is good for animals. Obviously, it's great for people. But, when we can have this cultural conversation and tell people what chiropractic is and how it helps, we have, so much depth to understand. And once a person's clear, they make good life decisions. They start to have more harmony within themselves. They start, like you said, having a different sense of ease.
Yeah, they do, and it's really the job of the educators, and we're falling short. I know they're well intentioned. I know a lot of the educators at the different school, and I know they're well intentioned, and we haven't kept up with the most current models in science. Now, if you take network, for example, and you take Danny Knowles and Rochelle Knowles, you're all of a sudden learning some leading edge concepts. But that's not taught in the schools. If you take BGI, Dr. Brown, the late Dr. Brown's work, and you learn about the geometry and wave dynamics, you're already expanding your knowledge base and able to hold a different conversation with patients that, people who are students who study what's available to us, but we're not teaching that in school. And that is partly due to the politics of the CCE and state boards, and it's very, very political, but it's our responsibility to upgrade our education so that we are as current as possible with physics, with biology, with neurology, with biomechanics, and at the same time well versed in our fundamental 33 principles, which are not these hard, fast rules, but they're starting points which we should be evolving. There are components of those that need to change subtly, and that it's growing and evolving. It's not static. And that is very, very key, that students realize that they'll get their sheepskin and graduate, and then a real education will begin in addition to that, where they've got their fundamentals, and then they're going to seek out a Donnie Epstein or Danny Knowles or Rochelle, or they're going to go learn BGI from Eric Rubin, or they're gonna need to expand into these other areas that really bring in what we know what we know through physics and energetics and wave dynamics, and because that's the only way you can, through in science, explain our universal principle. And that in order to bridge that gap between a very, very philosophical statement of universal intelligence, is you better have as much structure and solid information that is delivered in neurology and biology and physics, and you better be able to bridge that gap so a scientist could say, oh, I could make that jump. I could make that jump and understand that. But some of the statements that we make from in schools and from the stage, without backing it up with solid data, research, evidence, and it's really essential that we do this.
So where do you see the profession finding itself in 20 years?
Oh, I always think I'm the last chiropractor on the planet. So, when I speak or when I teach, I try to do it with with the authentic love that I have for the profession, and I encourage others to go out and find your voice, and find your voice in chiropractic, and that what I want is that our fundamental philosophy is still within the profession, that we haven't thrown that out, and we've built around it an explanation that's based in current science and research and data that says, wow, yeah, this is a no-brainer, that this is such a no-brainer, and we haven't done such a good job at doing that. But although there are people out within our profession, Matthew McCoy, Dr. McCoy, Christopher Kent, we have people who are really trying to do a good job to get that information out there. It's important for Zale Khalsa, Chalsa, Zale. There are people out there who really want to get that information out there. And so we have a lot of work. We have a huge task, but when you think about the magnitude of what we're doing, and you think about generations, BJ, I heard this secondhand, so I didn't read it, but he said it's going to take 300 years, and so 1895, and you're talking about 123 years, and that we still have a couple hundred years of educating and bringing information together in a comprehensive way. It's so complex. I have a friend of mine, Dr. Zale, and he uses the word simplexity. That it's simple and it's complex all wrapped into one. The principle is very, very simple, and it's amazingly complex. So you gotta study.
Yeah, back to the fundamentals of this conversation again. There's so much to be learned from just listening, and
Yes.
one of the old things was always said. The more that you use your 2 ears and less of your mouth, the better off for you.
That's the truth. That I can back 100%. Yeah. Well, Dr. Sid Williams, the late Dr. Sid Williams from Life, used to say, "The less said, the best said." That is just deliver the goods, make an adjustment, and demonstrate through your X-ray or your heat analysis or your orthopedic neurologic physical exam. Wow, look at this change. And we have amazing changes. When you make if you know what the hell you're doing, that is, you can actually detect a subluxation and correct it. The changes are so amazing. And you're able to demonstrate that to a person. That it is a no-brainer. It is a no-brainer for people. And anyway, I could go on and on just about that.
So let's switch gears a little bit and get into the idea of marketing. And you mentioned Sid Williams, and that guy there was a master marketer. I was actually introduced to Sid Williams through a book that he wrote that was a transcription of a talk that he did called The Meadowlands Experience.
Yes, I know that.
And that was the first introduction I ever had to Sid Williams. And then I YouTubed everything he did under the sun. But what he was is a master marketer. And what he did is he actually created a school. If you guys didn't know, some people that will listen to this, Jay, don't know that Sid Williams is the founder of Life College.
Yes.
And he was a master marketer. So right now it's 19, right? Yeah, 2019. Yeah. It blows me away to say that. But we're 2019. Where do you see marketing and chiropractic right now?
Well, it's huge. It's huge, and that again, no disrespect, but that there's been so much shtick in chiropractic, and so that people present something for we've got a diamond. I've got a diamond, and I'm going to tell you, Jim, I've got this diamond, and I'm going to give it to you for $29.95 because today we've got this special that we have this $4,000 diamond, but today we're going to give it to you for $29.95. Well, in my mind, that doesn't make sense. That the fact that we've had something of such great value that so few people understood, and that we've wound up, selling pickles instead of selling a diamond. We've been selling pickles, and so what marketing does is help you. That if you don't know how to language chiropractic, they're going to help you language it in a way where you don't shoot yourself in the foot by overstating what we do, that you state only what you know to be true, as well as how is it presented. When you walk into the office, does it look presentable? Do you look presentable? Do you look like, hey, I'm ready to take care of you? And these are simple little things. I mean, you're not talking about these big sweeping changes, but the lay of the land, the look of the office, the literature, the paperwork, everything, the way that phone call is handled. That's all marketing. It's on how is the person going to perceive what you're doing, and that is what they meet. The fact that you're going to give an adjustment, we're all focused on that and the word subluxation. People have no clue. What they want to know is this a happy environment, and am I welcome here, and is this person really legitimately want to take care of me? When you go in and you're presented with, well, we've done our report and now we're going to go ahead and deliver care for the next year. We want you here 3 times a week for the next 6 months. The average person, if you're a chiropractor, you may grasp that, but the average person cannot grasp that. You need to give chiropractic in manageable units where they can grasp little by little what an adjustment is, what a subluxation is, what vitalism is. And we have done a very, very, very poor job doing this. And the status quo, the reason we haven't moved the needle is partly due to the fact that we didn't have marketing experts. You know, when you think about the ACA, the ICA, the schools, why didn't they collaborate to get marketing? If I tell you right now, think about Apple Computer, and you think about the marketing of Apple Computer, it is very defined in your mind. You know iPad, you know iMac, you know your phone, and you realize top quality, and I'm going to spend money for it. And we could have done that. We didn't do that. We have a guy in the profession, Mark Swerdlick, Dr. Swerdlick out of Chicago, who's been hammering, and he's very, very controversial, and he's hammering the fact that, look, we could have hired experts, we can still, he's one of them, who could have shown us, has nothing to do with chiropractic. Marketing has nothing to do with this principle and philosophy. It's like, we already have the diamond. He's just saying, how do you want to present it? And there's a way to do that, and it costs money to do that, and the schools and the associations failed to do this. It's our job now to find leading experts in marketing where there's no shtick, and where you don't overstate what we're doing, you know, from the platform or in our offices, where, you know, any concept around curing, the word cure is like, you know, that all of that stuff has got to be eliminated from our languaging. And so there are people who are marketing experts who you know, do million-dollar companies, multi-million-dollar companies, who have learned, they've gone to school to learn the specifics of marketing, and we have failed to enlist their support, which is, you have to ask yourself the question, why is that? Why is that? And I won't answer it, but I'll leave it to the both of you to figure out why wouldn't we want to hire the best? If you could get somebody who worked with Microsoft or worked with Dell, or somebody who worked with Apple, why wouldn't you want that person to show you the best way from where you are as a profession to launch yourself into the stratosphere, or, you know, the joke of the tipping point is, if you want to actually do that, then you need to hire trained people. And we do not have that skill set, even though many in the profession feel they do, but they don't. And so again, it's a hard conversation to have, where you have to call people out that, like, where did you learn that possibly would work? And it was just something somebody thought up and sounded good. And so you may want to edit this part out of the conversation, but again, you know, we need to hire people who are skilled at what they do. Somebody wants their horse adjusted who's got $1 million horse, they're calling me, and the reason they call me is that I've got 42 years of hands-on expert experience, and they call me for that, and I get paid for that. But I wouldn't profess to know anything about marketing. I know a little. I know enough to go get expert help. I do it with my accountant, my attorney, and with someone who teaches you about marketing.
So, do you have a favorite app or technology to stay engaged with your practice members or your audience?
Well, again, like, to get my name recognition, a movie is a good, a documentary is pretty amazing. Going on the Today Show, I was on the Today Show, and those things have such incredible reach. Unless it happens to you, you have no idea how far-reaching it is. But Facebook, for no money whatsoever, I don't know how many followers I have. I think it's maxed out. So what is 5,000?
5,000.
So I love writing. I love to write about our philosophy and human behavior and chiropractic, and I write what moves me and motivates me. And if it moves me, I don't care that you may get it or not get it, but I put it out there. And then you're able to watch the responses as to whether something lands. And more importantly, is there a return? Does someone from Illinois call me to say, hey, would you come teach a class? So I'm able to, through Facebook, which is my primary, we do Instagram. My daughter does the Instagram, but Facebook I do in large part because I'm able to do something on Monday morning. And if you follow me, you'll see most of it comes out on Monday morning. I'm able to immediately see whether it's landing. Does somebody get moved by that? What are the responses? Did it stimulate conversation? And more importantly, did they call me to either get their dog or their horse, or more importantly, do they want me to teach a class? And so I love education. So I'm doing it because I love to speak and write and share what I've learned. And at the same time, I want to see a response in Facebook with no dollars spent. In order for me to accomplish that 20, 30 years ago, I would have had to spend 15 grand every month, and which I did. And so in the 80s, you know, my advertising budget was anywhere from $7,000 to $12,000 a month. And
Wow.
So, you know, just to get my name out there. And it was billboards and television and mailers and Advo mailer and my personal mailing. And we had a multimedia approach. And I knew what it took, what I had to spend, and what that would give me in terms of a return of new patients. And I had somebody who tracked all of that for me, but we knew full well that we had to have an outreach program and we had to spend money. And I paid money to do the advertising, whether it was radio or television or billboards. We had paid people to build all these things for us.
Well, listening to this once again, anybody that listens to what Dr. J has to say about the brick by brick industry of building a following and creating something unique as a proposition for actually adding value plus actually entertainment, and that's the film. And I think that, you know, the things that you're saying here make so much sense because, you know, those that are social and social win. And if you put out good content, like you said, see what lands, you have to test and keep testing until you find your voice. And then eventually you find your voice and you find the people that appreciate what you're doing, and eventually you can create a movement. And I think that what you've done is created an amazing movement, not only being able to do a post and build engagement, but then to get people to actually let that lead to business. And I think a lot of times people don't realize that the more consistent they are with their community, the more that leads to business. And whether it's your own office or whether it's me staying consistent with my group of people, now people are looking to what we do and it leads to business. And the more savvy you are, the better outcome.
Well, it's true. And the money, I want to address the money because
sure,
especially the students are coming out of school with huge school loans and, you know, just enormous responsibilities, is that the money is the byproduct of the service. That your focus is on an incredible service and education around the service, but with no shtick, that you're not selling pickles, you're selling diamonds, and that your focus on your service, and you're presenting that in such a way with a reasonable value, but your focus is not on the money, although the money is the byproduct. The money is the byproduct of the service. So getting that formula right, but people can smell. You walk into an office where it's driven, it's money driven, where it's as opposed to service driven, and people can smell that. And they say, "Well, I saw 62 patients." Well, if you're seeing 60 new patients a month, at the end of 3 or 4 months, you should have your practice maxed out. Meaning, if those people are staying, which my patients stay. I don't take any new patients. I mean, well, we do now. I apologize. But in Boulder, we stopped taking new patients. It's like, you're maxed out. You can't do any more because you've educated that person, and they're there for a lifetime. So now that takes a while to accomplish that. But when you hear these stories of having to constantly do, new patient activation, something is amiss. Something's amiss there. So again, the service of lifetime chiropractic care, once they understand what the role of the subluxation, the correction of subluxation, you know that is essential. That's part of the marketing. And then you have a practice where you turn people away, where you can't take new patients because your practice is full. And that's when you then bring somebody in and you have an associate, and then you grow yourself that way. But the service, we have to focus on the service, and I want everybody to get paid really well. We should, for considering what we deliver, and but you have to focus on the service.
So tell us some of your hobbies and things that you like to do in your spare time. Do you have any favorite books? I know you like to write.
I read. I love to read. I was up 4:30 this morning, and I was reading a book by John O'Donohue, who's a poet, and he had passed away, I guess, in 2007 or 8, and his brother is reading. He's the narrator, and I was just mesmerized by people from all walks of life and how they did what they did, and biographies and autobiographies, and who are from white. So reading, I would have to say reading. I play the guitar. I love to play my guitar, and I love I have grandchildren. I have 3 grandchildren. My kids, I adore my children. I adore my grandkids, and I spend a lot of time alone. I at the moment don't have a partner, so I spent a year on my own after 64 years of just first time in my life of just having quiet time and contemplation time, and but my children, I would say in the order of I would say God, family, chiropractic, in that order. It's kind of the order of things for me.
So this is the part of the show where we ask you, where can people go to learn more about you and what you do? What are your websites?
Well, jkomarek.com. It's JAYKOMAREK.com. You can go to Facebook, although I happen to be off this Facebook just for temporarily, that we're doing some things. But Facebook, you can go to Instagram. You can email me at jkomarek@gmail.com. And my phone number is 970-975-0744 if you're really in a pinch and need information. If you want to call the office, it's 303-957-8010. So lots of ways. But if you go to Google and Google me, all of those will come up.
So this pretty much wraps up this episode. Is there anything you wanted to say that we didn't ask you about?
Well, no, I appreciate both of you for, one, the questions were rich, so it opened up quite a dialogue, which I appreciate, and appreciate you both having that much inspiration to want to reach out and get the message out there. So thank you for asking me to be a part of this, and onward and upward to all 3 of us.
Yeah, Jay, it's our honor to be able to connect with you too. And building a platform of success was something that was my big soul journey. And I just wanted to get the chiropractic message to more people. And I knew if we stayed consistent with it and we just continuously did a system of excellence, we would get to more people. So thank you for being our guest today.
Yeah, you're welcome. You have you've created quite a reputation for yourself that your name is associated with a guy who is really interested in furthering the profession. And I ask, and I talk to people, and so you've created quite a rich platform that is it's a lot loaded with integrity, and that's what the what's the right word? That's the message that's out there about you. So anyway, just I want to give you that feedback.
Consistency develops magic.
Really, yeah. Oh, I love that. I love it. Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, and wish you both a lot of great success.
And I'll see you soon.
Okay. Yeah, March 2nd.
Enjoy the rest of your day, Jay.
Okay, thank you for having me. All right, bye-bye.
See you now.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.